The life and death of Scyld. Lo, the Spear Dane's glory through splendid achievements, the folk king's former fame we have heard of, how princes displayed then their prowess in battle. Oft skilled the skeffing, from scathers in numbers, from many a people their mead benches tore. Since first he found him friendless and wretched, the earl had terror. Comfort he got for it, waxed neath the welkin, world honor gained, till all his neighbors o'er sea were compelled to bow to his bidding and bring him their tribute. An excellent atheling. After was born him a son and heir, young in his dwelling, whom Godfather sent to solace the people. He had marked the misery malice had caused them, that reaved of their rulers they wretched had erstwhile long been afflicted. The Lord in requital, wielder of glory, with world honor blessed him. Famed was Beowulf. Far spread the glory of Scyld's great son in the lands of Danemen. So the carle that is young, and by kindness rendered the friends of his father with fees in abundance, must be able to earn that when age approacheth, eager companions aid him requitingly. When war assaults him, serve as liegemen. By praiseworthy actions must honor be got among all the races. At the hour that was fated, Scyld then departed to the All-Father's keeping, warlike to wend him. Away then they bear him to the flood of the current, his fond loving comrades, as himself he had bidden. While the friend of the Scyldings word sway wielded, and the well-loved land prince long did rule them. The ring-stemmed vessel, bark of the Atheling, lay there at anchor, icy in glimmer and eager for sailing. The beloved leader laid they down there, giver of rings on the breast of the vessel, the famed by the mainmast. A many of jewels, of fretted embossings, from far lands brought over, was placed near and at hand, and heard I not ever that a folk ever furnished a float more superbly with weapons of warfare, weeds for the battle, bills and burnies. On his bosom sparkled many a jewel that with him must travel on the flush of the flood afar on the current. And favors no fewer they furnished him soothly. Excellent folk gems than others had given him, who when first he was born outward did send him lone on the main, the merest of infants. And a gold-fashioned standard they stretched under heaven high o'er his head. Let the home currents bear him, seaward consigned him. Sad was their spirit, their mood very mournful. Men are not able soothly to tell us. They in halls who reside, heroes under heaven, to what haven he hied. Skilled successors, Hrothgar's great Mead Hall, In the burrows then, Beowulf, bairn of the Scyldings, beloved land prince for long-lasting season, was famed mid the folk. His father departed the prince from his dwelling, till afterwards sprang great-minded Healfdene. The Danes in his lifetime he graciously governed, grim-mooded, aged. 4 bands of his body, born in succession, woke in the world. War troopers leader Herogar, Hrothgar, and Halga the Good. Heard I that Elin was Ongentheow's consort, the well-beloved bedmate of the war-skilfing leader. Then glory in battle to Hrothgar was given, waxing of war fame, that willingly kinsmen obeyed his bidding, till the boys grew to manhood, a numerous band. It burned in his spirit to urge his folk to found a great building, a mead hall grander than men of the era ever had heard of, and in it to share with young and old all of the blessings the Lord had allowed him, save life and retainers. Then the work I find afar was assigned to many races in Middle Earth's regions to adorn the great folk hall. In due time, it happened early among men that was finished entirely. The greatest of hall buildings, Heorot, he named it, who wide-reaching word sway wielded 'mong earlmen. His promise he break not, rings he lavish, treasure at banquet. Towered the hall up, high and horn-crested, huge between antlers. It battle waves bided, the blasting fire demon. Ere long then from hottest hatred must sword wrath arise from a woman's husband and father. Then the mighty war spirit endured for a season, bore it bitterly, he who bided in darkness. That light-hearted laughter loud in the building greeted him daily. There was dulcet harp music, clear song of the singer. He said that was able to tell from of old earthmen's beginnings, that Father Almighty Earth had created the winsome wold that the water encircleth, set exultingly the suns and the moon's beams to lavish their luster on landfolk and races, and earth he embellished in all her regions with limbs and leaves. Life he bestowed too on all kindreds that live under heaven, so blessed with abundance, brimming with joyance, the warriors abided till a certain one gan to dog them with deeds of direfulest malice. The foe in the hall building, this horrible stranger, was Grendel entitled, the march stepper famous, who dwelt in the moor fens, the marsh, and the fastness. The wan-mooded being abode for a season in the land of the giants, when the Lord and Creator had banned him and branded for that bitter murder, the killing of Abel, all-ruling father, the kindred of Cain, crushed with his vengeance. In the feud he rejoiced not, but far away drove him from kindred and kind, that crime to atone for, meter of justice. Thence ill-favored creatures, elves and giants, monsters of ocean, came into being, and the giants that long time grappled with God, he gave them acquittal. Grendel, the murderer. When the sun was sunken, he set out to visit the lofty hall building, how the ring Danes had used it for beds and benches when the banquet was over. Then he found there reposing many a noble, asleep after supper. Sorrow the hero's misery knew not. The monster of evil, greedy and cruel, tarried but little, fell and frantic, and forced from their slumbers 30 of Thane men. Thence he departed, leaping and laughing, his lair to return to, with surfeit of slaughter sallying homeward. In the dusk of the dawning, as the day was just breaking, was Grendel's prowess revealed to the warriors. Then, his meal taking finished, a moan was uplifted, mourning cry mighty. The man ruler famous, the long worthy Atheling, sat very woeful, suffered great sorrow, sighed for his liegemen. When they had seen the track of the hateful pursuer, the spirit accursed, too crushing that sorrow, too loathsome and lasting, no longer he tarried, but one night after continued his slaughter, shameless and shocking, shrinking but little. From malice and murder they mastered him fully. He was easy to find then, who otherwhere looked for a pleasanter place of repose in the ledges, a bed in the bowers. He was brought to his notice, told him truly by token apparent the Haldane's hatred. He held himself after, further and faster, who the foeman did baffle. So he ruled and strongly strove against justice, lone against all men, till empty uptowered the choicest of houses. Long was the season, 12 winters' time, torture suffered the friend of the Scyldings. Every affliction, endless agony, hence it after became certainly known to the children of men. Sadly in measures, that long after Hrothgar Grendel struggled, his grudges he cherished, murderous malice many a winter, strive unremitting, and peacefully he wished he life woe to lift from no liegeman at all of the men of the Dane folk for money to settle. No counselor needed count for a moment on handsome amends at the hands of the murderer. The monster of evil fiercely did harass the ill-planning death shade, both elder and younger, trapping and tricking them. He trod every night then the mist-covered moor fens. Men do not know where witches and wizards wander and rabble. So the foe of mankind, many of evils, grievous injuries often accomplished, horrible hermit, he frequented. Gem-bedecked palace, when nightshades had fallen, since God did oppose him, not the throne could he touch. The light-flashing jewel, love of him knew not. 'Twas a fearful affliction to the friend of the Scylding, soul-crushing sorrow, not seldom in private, sat the king in his council. Conference held they what the braves should determine gainst terrors unlooked for. At the shrines of their idols often they promised gifts and offerings. Earnestly they prayed the devil from hell would help them to lighten their people's oppression. Such practice they used then, hope of the heathen. Hell they remembered in innermost spirit, God they did not. Judge of their actions, all-wielding ruler, no praise could they give the guardian of heaven, the wielder of glory. Woe will be his who through furious hatred his spirit shall drive to the clutch of the fire. No comfort shall look for, wax no wiser, well for the man who, living his life days, his Lord may face and find defense in his father's embrace. Beowulf goes to Hrothgar's assistance. So Healfdane's kinsman constantly mused on his long-lasting sorrow. The battle thane, clever, was not anywise able evils to escape from. Too crushing the sorrow that came to the people, loathing and lasting the life-grinding torture, great of night woes. So Hygelac's liegemen, good amid gatemen of Grendel's achievements, heard in his home of heroes then living. He was stoutest and strongest, sturdy and noble. He bade them prepare him a bark that was trusty. He said he, the war king, would seek o'er the ocean the folk leader noble, since he needed retainers. For the perilous project prudent companions chided him little, though loving him dearly, they egged the brave Atheling, augured him glory. The excellent knight from the folk of the gatemen had liegemen selected likest to prove them trustworthy warriors. With 14 companions, the vessel he looked for, a liegeman then showed them a sea-crafty man. The bounds of the country. Fast the days fleeted, the float was a water. The craft by a cliff clomb to the prow, then well-equipped warriors. The wave currents twisted the sea on the sand. Soldiers then carried on the breast of the vessel bright shining jewels. Handsome war armor, heroes outshoved. Then warmen the wood ship on its wished-for adventure. The foamy-necked floater, fanned by the breeze like a bird, glided the waters, till 24 hours thereafter the twist-stemmed vessel had traveled such distance that the sailing men saw the sloping embankments, the sea cliffs gleaming, precipitous mountains, nesses enormous. They were nearing the limits at the end of the ocean. Up thence quickly the men of the Weeders clomb to the mainland, fastened their vessel. Battle weeds rattled, war burnies clattered. The wielder they thanked, the waves o'er the waters had waxen so gentle. Then well from the cliff edged the guard of the Scyldings, who the sea cliffs should see to, saw o'er the gangway brave ones, bearing beauteous targets. Armor already anxiously, thought he, musing and wondering what men were approaching high on his horse. Then Hrothgar's retainer turned him to coastward, mightily brandished his lance in his hands, questioning with boldness, "Who are ye men here, mail-covered warriors, clad in your corselets, come thus a-driving a high-riding ship o'er the shoals of the waters, and hither 'neath helmets have hied o'er the ocean? I have been strandguard, stranded as warden, lest enemies ever anywise ravage Danish dominions with army of warships. More boldly never have warriors ventured hither to come. Of kinsmen's approval, word leave of warriors, I ween that ye surely nothing have known. Never a greater one of earls o'er the ocean that I had a sight of than is one of your number, a hero in armor. No low-ranking fellow adjourned thee with his weapons, but launching them little, unless looks are deceiving, and striking appearance, ere ye pass on your journey as treacherous spies to the land of the Scyldings. And farther fare, I fully must know now what race ye belong to. Ye faraway dwellers, seafaring sailors, my simple opinion, hear ye and hearken. Haste is most fitting plainly to tell me what place ye are come from." the Geats reach Heorot. The chief of the strangers rendered him answer, war troopers leader and word treasure opened. We are sprung from the lineage of the people of Gatesland, and Hygelac's hearth friends, to heroes unnumbered. My father was known, a noble head warrior, Ecthro, titled. Many a winter he lived with the people, ere he passed on his journey. Old from his dwelling, each of his counselors, widely mid world folk well remembers him. We kindly of spirit, the Lord of thy people, the song of King Helfdine, have come here to visit folk troops' defender. Be free in thy counsels. To the noble one bear we a weighty commission. The helm of the Danesman we shall hide, I ween, not of our message. Thou knowest if it happen, as we soothly heard say, that some savage despoiler, some hidden pursuer on nights that are murky, by deeds very direful, mid the daymen exhibits hatred, unheard of, horrid destruction, and the falling of dead. From feelings least selfish, I am able to render counsel to Hrothgar, how he, wise and worthy, may worst the destroyer. If the anguish of sorrow should ever be lessened, comfort come to him, and care waves grow cooler, or hereafter he agony suffer, and troublous distress, while towereth upward the handsomest of houses high on the summit. Best riding his stallion, the strand watchman answered the doughty retainer. The difference surely twixt words and works, the warlike shield bearer, who judgeth wisely, well shall determine. This band, I hear, beareth no malice to the prince of the Scyldings. Pass ye then onward with weapons and armor. I shall lead you in person. To my war-trusty vassals, command I shall issue to keep from all injury in your excellent vessel, your fresh-tarred craft, gainst every opposer, close by the seashore, till the curved naked bark shall waft back again the well-beloved hero o'er the way of the water to weeder dominions, to warriors so great 'twill be granted sure in the storm of strife to stand secure. Onward they fared then. The vessel lay quiet. The broad-bosomed bark was bound by its cable firmly at anchor. The bore signs glistened bright on the visors, vivid with gilding, blaze hard and brilliant the bore act warden. The heroes hastened, hurried the liegemen, descended together till they saw the great palace, the well-fashioned wassail hall, wondrous and gleaming. Mid-world folk and kindreds, that was widest reputed of halls under heaven in which hero abode in, its luster enlightened lands without number. Then the battle-brave hero showed them the glittering court of the bold ones, that they easily thither might fare on their journey. The aforementioned warrior, turning his courser, quoth as he left them, "'Tis time I were faring. Father Almighty grant you his grace, and give you to journey safe on your mission. To the sea I will get me gainst hostile warriors as warden to stand." Beowulf introduces himself at the palace. The highway glistened with many-hued pebble, and bypath led the liegemen together. Firm and hand-locked, the war-burnied glistened. The ring sword, radiant, rang mid the armor as the party was approaching the palace together in warlike equipments. Gainst the wall of the building, their wide-fashioned war shields they wary did set then, battle shields sturdy, benchward they turned them. Their battle sarks rattled, the gear of the heroes, the lances stood up then, all in a cluster, the arms of the seamen ashen shafts mounted with edges of iron, the armor-clad soldiers were decked with weapons. Then a proud-mooded hero asked of the champions questions of lineage. From what borders bear ye your battle shields plated, gilded and gleaming, your grey-colored burnies, helmets with visors, and heap of war lances to Hrothgar, the king I am servant and liegeman. 'Mong folk from far lands found I have never men so many of mien, more courageous. I ween that from valor no wise as outlaws, but from greatness of soul ye sought for King Hrothgar. Then the strength-famous earlman answered, rendered. The proud-mooded Weder chief replied to the question. Hardy neath helmet, Hygelac's mates are we. Beowulf hight I, to the bairn of Healfdene, the famous folk leader. I freely will tell to thy prince my commission, if pleasantly hearing he'll grant we may greet him so gracious to all men. Wulfgar replied then, he was the prince of the Wendels, his boldness of spirit was known unto many, his prowess and prudence. The prince of the Scyldings, the friend lord of Danemen, I will ask of thy journey, the giver of rings, as thou urgest me to do it. The folk chief famous, and inform thee early what answer the good one mindeth to render me. He turned then hurriedly with Hrothgar was sitting. Old and hoary, his earlmen attended him. The strength famous went till he stood at the shoulder of the lord of the Danemen. Of courteous Thanemen, the custom he minded. Wulfgar addressed then his friendly liege lord. Folk of the Geatmen, o'er the way of the waters, are wafted hither, faring from far lands the foremost in rank, the battle champions Beowulf title. They make this petition with thee, O my chieftain, to be granted a conference, O gracious King Hrothgar. Friendly answer refuse not to give them. In war trappings weeded worthy they seem, of earls to be honored. Sure the atheling was doughty, who headed the heroes hitherward coming. Hrothgar and Beowulf. Hrothgar answered, helm of the Scyldings, I remember this man as the merest of striplings. His father, long dead now, was Icthio titled. Him Hrethel, the Geatman, granted at home his one only daughter. His battle-brave son is come but now. Sought a trustworthy friend, seafaring sailors asserted it then, who valuable gift gems of the Geatmen carried as peace-offering thither. That he 30 men's grapple has in his hand, the hero in battle the holy creator uswards sent him. To Westdane warriors I weed, for to render gainst Grendel's grimness gracious assistance. I shall give the mood 1 gift gems for courage. Hasten to bid them hither, to speed them. To see assembled this circle of kinsmen, tell them expressly they're welcome to in sooth. the to the men of the Danes. To the door of the building, Wulfgar went then. This word message shouted, "My victorious liege lord bade them to tell you, the East Danes' eighthling, that your origin knows he, and o'er wave willows wafted he welcome are thither. Valiant of spirit, yet ye straightway may enter, clad in corslets, cased in your helmets, to see King Hrothgar. Here let your battle boards, wood spears, and war shafts await your conferring." The mighty one rose then with many a liegeman, an excellent thane group. Some there did await them, as bid of the brave one, the battle gear guarded. Together they hied him, while the hero did guide them. Neath Heorot's roof the high-minded went, then sturdy neath helmet, till he stood in the building. Beowulf spake, his byrnie did glisten, his armor seemed over by the art of the craftsman. "Hail thou, Hrothgar! I am Hygelac's kinsman and vassal forsooth. Many a wonder I dared as a stripling. The doings of Grendel in far-off fatherland I fully did know of. Seafarers tell us this hall building standeth excellent edifice, empty and useless. To all the earlmen, after even light's glimmer, neath heaven's bright hues, hath hidden its glory. This, my earls then urged me, the most excellent of them. Carl's very clever, to come and assist thee. Folk leader Hrothgar, fully they know of the strength of my body. Themselves they beheld me when I came from the contest, when covered with gore, foes I escaped from. Where 5 I had bound, the giant race wasted, in the waters destroying the knickers by night, bore numberless sorrows and weeders avenged, woe had they suffered. Enemies ravaged, alone now with Grendel. I shall manage the matter with the monster of evil. The giant decided. Thee I would therefore beg of thy bounty, right Danish chieftain, lord of the Scyldings, this single petition, not to refuse me, defender of warriors, friend lord of folks, so far have I sought thee, that I may unaided, my earlmen assisting me, this brave-mooded warband purify Heorot. I have heard on inquiry the horrible creature from various rashness recks not for weapons. I do scorn them. So be Hygelac gracious, my liege lord beloved, lenient of spirit, to bear a blade or a broad-fashioned target, a shield to the onset, only with hand grip. The foe I must grapple. Fight for my life then. Foemen with foemen. He fain must reply on the doom of the Lord, whom death layeth hold of. I ween I will wish, if he win in the struggle, to eat in the war hall earls of the Geat folk, boldly to swallow them, as of yore he did often the best of the Hrethmen. Thou needest not trouble a head watch to give me. He will have me dripping and dreary with gore. If death overtake me, will bear me off bleeding, biting, and mouthing me. The hermit will eat me, heedless of pity, marking the moorfens, no more wilt thou need then find my food. If I fall in the battle, send a Hygelac, the armor that serveth to shield my bosom, the best of equipments, richest of ringmails. 'Tis the relic of Hrethla, the work of Wayland, goes weird as she must go. Hrothgar and Beowulf continued. Hrothgar discoursed, Helm of the Scyldings, to defend our folk and to furnish assistance, thou soughtest us hither, good friend Beowulf. The fiercest of feuds thy father engaged in, Etholaf, killed he in hand-to-hand combat, mid Wilfingish warriors. Then the Weederish people, for fear of a feud, were forced to disown him. Thence, flying, he fled to the folk of the South Danes, the race of the Scyldings, or the roll of the waters. I had lately begun then to govern the Danemen, the hoard seed of heroes held in my youth, rich in its jewels dead, were Hirgar. My kinsman and elder had earth joys forsaken, Healfdene in his bairn. He was better than I am. That feud thereafter for a fee I compounded, o'er the welting waters of the Wilfings I sent ornaments old. Oath did he swear me, it pains me in spirit to any to tell it. What grief in Heorot Grendel hath caused me, what horror unlooked for by hatred and unceasing, waned. If waned is my warband, wasted my whole troop. Weird hath oft cast them to the clutches of Grendel. God can easily hinder the scather from deeds so direful. Oft drunken with beer o'er the ale vessel, promised warriors in armor, they would willingly wait on the wassailing benches, a grapple with Grendel with grimmest of edges. Then this mead hall at morning with murder was reeking. The building was bloody at breaking of daylight. The bench deals all flooded, dripping and bloodied. The folk hall was gory. I had fewer retainers, dear beloved warriors whom death had laid hold of. Sit at the feast now, thy intents unto heroes, thy victor fame show as thy spirit doth urge thee. For the men of the Geats then together assembled in the beer hall blithesome, a bench was made ready. There, warlike in spirit, they went to be seated, proud and exultant. A liegeman did service, who a beaker embellished bore with decorum, and gleaming drink poured. The gleeman sang Willem hearty and Heorot. There was heroes rejoicing, a numerous war band of weeders and danemen. I will take a short break and be back. Unferth taunts Beowulf. Unferth spoke up. Ecglath, his son, who sat at the feet of the Lord of the Scyldings, opening the jousting. The journey of Beowulf, seafarer Doddy, gave sorrow to Unferth, and greatest chagrin too, for granted he never that any man else on earth should attain to, gain under heaven more glory than he. Art thou that Beowulf with Breca did struggle on the wide sea currents, that swimming contended? Where to humour your pride the ocean ye tried, from vainest vaunting adventured your bodies in care of the waters? And no one was able, nor lief, nor loth one, in the least to dissuade you your difficult voyage. Then ye ventured a swimming, where your arms outstretched the streams ye did cover, the mere ways measured, mixing and stirring them, gilded the ocean. Angry the waves were, with the weltering of winter. In the water's position, yet toiled for a 7 night. He had swimming outdid thee. In strength excelled thee. Then, early at morning, on the Hethereme's shore, the home currents tossed him. Sought he thence'ward the home of his fathers, beloved of his liegemen, the land of the Brondings, the peace castle pleasant, where a people he wielded, had borough and jewels, the pledge that he made thee, the son of Beanstan, hath soothly accomplished. Then I ween thou wilt find the less fortunate issue, though ever triumphant in onset of battle. Grim grappling, if Grendel thou darest, for the space of the night nearby to wait for. Beowulf answered, offspring of Ecgtheow, my good Unferth, surely freely and wildly. Thou fuddled with beer of Breca hast spoken, hast told us of his journey, a fact I alleged, that greater strength in the waters I had then, ills in the ocean, than any man else had. We made agreement, as the merest of striplings, promised each other, both of us then were youngers in years, that we yet would adventure out on the ocean. It all we accomplished. While swimming the sea floods, sword blade unscabbarded, boldly we brandished our bodies expected to shield from the sharks. He sure was unable to swim on the waters further than I could. More swift on the waves, nor would I from him go. Then we two companions stayed in the ocean 5 nights together, till the currents did part us, the weltering waters weathers the bleakest and nethermost night, and the north wind whistled fierce in our faces, fell were the bellows. The mere fish's mood was mightily ruffled, and there against foemen my firm-knotted corslet, hand-jointed hardy help did afford me. My battle sock braided, brilliantly gilded, lay on my bosom. To the bottom then dragged me a hateful fiend scather, seized me and held me, grip in his grapple. 'Twas granted me, nathless, to pierce the monster with the point of my weapon, my obedient blade, battle off carried. The mighty near creature, by means of my hand blow. Beowulf silences Unferth, glee is high. So, ill-meaning enemies often did cause me sorrow the sorest. I served them, in quittance, with my dear loved sword, as in sooth it was fitting. They missed the pleasure of feasting abundantly, evil, ill-doers evil, of eating my body, all of surrounding the banquet deep in the ocean, but wounded with edges early at morning. They were stretched high on the strand of the ocean, put to sleep with the sword, that sea-going travelers no longer thereafter were hindered from sailing. The foam dashing currents came a light from the east, God's beautiful beacon. The billow subsided, that well could see the nesses projecting, the blustering crags. Weird often saveth the undoomed hero, if doughty his valor. But me did fortune to fell with my weapon, 9 of the knickers. Of night struggle harder, neath dome of the heaven, heard I but rarely, north of white, war more woeful in the waves of the ocean. Yet I escaped with my life in the grip of the monsters, weary from travel. Then the waters bear me to the land of the Finns, the flood of the current, the weltering waves. Not a word hath been told me of deeds so daring done by thee on Firth, and of sword terror none. Never hath Breca at the play of battle, nor either of you two, feat so fearless performed with weapons, glinting and gleaming. I utter no boasting, though with cold-blooded cruelty thou killest thy brothers, thy nearest of kin. Thou must in hell get direful damnation, though doughty thy wisdom. I tell thee in earnest, offspring of Ecglaf, never had Grendel such numberless horrors. The direful demon done to thy liege lord harrying in Heorot. If thy heart were as sturdy, thy mood as ferocious as thou dost describe them, he hath found it fully that the fierce burning hatred, the edge battle eager of all of your kindred, of the victory Skildings, need little dismay him. Oaths he exacteth, not any he spares of the folk of the Danemen, but fighteth with pleasure, killeth and feasteth, no contest expecteth from speared Danish people. But the prowess and valor of the earls of the Geatmen early shall venture to give him a grapple. He shall go who is able bravely to banquet when the bright light of morning, which the second day bringeth, The sun in its ether robes o'er children of men shines from the southward. Then the gray-haired, war-famed giver of treasure was blithesome and joyous. The bright Danish ruler expected assistance. The people's protector heard from Beowulf his bold resolution. There was laughter of heroes, loud was the clatter. The words were winsome. Wealhtheow advanced then, consort of Hrothgar, of courtesy mindful. Gold-decked saluted the men in the building, and the freeborn woman the beaker presented to the lord of the kingdom, first of the East Danes, bade him be blithesome when beer was a-flowing, leaf to his leechmen. He lustily tasted of banquet and beaker, battle-famed ruler. The Helmingish lady then graciously circled mid all the liegemen, lesser and greater, treasure cups tendered, till time was afforded that the decorous mooded, diademed folk queen might bear to Beowulf the bumper o'errunning. She greeted the Geat prince, God she did thank, most wise in her words, that her wish was accomplished, that in any of earlmen she ever should look for solace in sorrow. She accepted the beaker, battle-bold warrior at Wealhtheow's giving. Then equipped for combat, quoth he in measures. Beowulf spake, offspring of Ecgtheow. I purposed in spirit, when I mounted the ocean, when I boarded my boat with a band of my liegemen, I would work to the fullest the will of your people, or in foes' clutches fastened fall in the battle. Deed I shall do of daring and prowess, or the last of my life days live in this mead hall. These words to the lady were welcome and pleasing. The boast of the Geadsmen, with gold trappings embroidered, went the freeborn folk queen her fond lord to sit by. Then again, as of yore was heard in the building, courtly discussion, conquerors shouting. Heroes were happy, till Healfdene's son would go to his slumber to seek for refreshing. For the horrid hell monster in the hall building knew he a fight was determined. Since the light of the sun they could no longer see, and lowering darkness o'er all had descended, and dark under heaven shadowy shapes came shying around them. The liegemen all rose then. One saluted the other, Hrothgar, Beowulf, in rhythmical measures, wishing him well. The wassail hall giving to his care and keeping, quoth he departing, not to any one else have I ever entrusted, but thee and thee only, the hall of the Danemen, since high I could heave my hand and my buckler. Take thou in charge, now the noblest of houses. Be mindful of honor, exhibiting prowess. Watch gainst the foemen. Thou shalt want no enjoyments. Survive thou safely adventure so glorious. All sleep save one. Then Hrothgar departed, his earl throng attending him. Folklord of Scyldings forth from the building. The war chieftain wished then Wealhtheow to look for the queen for a bedmate. To keep away Grendel, the glory of kings, had given a hall watch. As men heard recounted, For the king of the Danemen, he did special service, gave the giant a watcher. And the prince of the Geatmen implicitly trusted his warlike strength and the wielder's protection. His armor of iron, off him he did then. His helmet from his head, to his henchmen committed, his chaste-handled chainsword, choicest of weapons, and bade him bide with his battle equipments. The good one then uttered words of defiance. Beowulf Geatman, ere his bed he upmounted, I hold no meaner in matters of prowess, in warlike achievements than Grendel does himself. Hence, I seek not with the sword edge to soothe him to slumber, of life to bereave him, though well I am able. No battle skill has he, that blows he should strike me. To shatter my shield, though sure he is mighty in strife and destruction, but struggling by night, we shall do without edges. Dare he to look for weaponless warfare, and wise-mooded father, the glory apportion God ever holy, on which hand soever to him seemeth proper. And then the brave-mooded hero bent to his slumber. The pillow received the cheek of the noble, and many a martial mere thane attending sank to his slumber. Seemed it unlikely that ever there